Hello, everybody. We're going to wait just a moment here and let everybody gather before we get going tonight. Just going to wait a couple more moments, make sure everybody gets in and is ready to go. Okay, I think we'll get started. Good evening and welcome to our Zoom room as we present the Siena Shares Series event, Online Education 101. Our presenter tonight is Assistant Professor of Humanities and Program Coordinator of Online English and Multidisciplinary Studies, Tony Farina. He will lead tonight's event. Tony joined Siena Heights full-time in 2014 and has degrees from Albion College, Spring Arbor University, and Naropa University. He created the Dominican Consortium and presented at the 2018 Dominican Colloquium. He writes for AudioFile Magazine, DC Comics News, and Fantastic Universes. Please save your questions for the end of the presentation in our Q&A area, and also feel free to use and follow our chat function during the presentation. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenter in true superhero fashion. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Tony Farina.
Thank you, Doug. Hello, everybody. That was excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody for coming. And so, as Doug said, welcome to Siena Shares. And we're calling this Online 101. And the subtitle is The Best Parts of Online Teaching. So, as Doug mentioned, I came to Siena Heights in 2014 full-time, but I was actually here in 2012 as an adjunct. So I was here for a few years, adjuncting, teaching online exclusively as an adjunct while I was teaching around the different parts of the state in different schools as an adjunct or as a full-time instructor. So I went to Albion College where I got my BA, and then I went to Spring Arbor University to get my MA-ED, and then I went to Naropa University and got my MFA in creative writing. So, and I actually started teaching in 1995, which was right after I graduated. I graduated from Albion College in 1995 with my undergrad, and Jackson College, which was then called Jackson Community College, hired me right away as an adjunct. So I went from graduating in May of 95 to teaching my first college class in June of 95. I've actually never stopped. I've never taken a summer off. And so here I am in the summer presenting this, so it's only appropriate. I did teach my first online class in 2005, and I've been teaching online since then. Now in 2005, when I taught my first online class, it was not exclusive. I was still teaching on ground, but I was at Baker College teaching there for a while. I was their English department chair at the Jackson campus. And we were running out of space, and that was at the time when the Jackson campus was pretty small. So we kind of had to move online. So I was online trained through there. I taught some writing and some literature courses online, and it just kind of stuck with me from there. And so then I came here as an adjunct because I had some online experience, but I still took the OLAC course, which I still say is the greatest professional development in the history of the universe. If you've not taken OLAC yet, please do if you get a chance. It is fantastic. And so I was here full-time in 2014, where I was teaching full-time at LCC, and I left there for here. And really, because I was teaching as an adjunct, what appealed to me about Siena Heights is the mission, right? Is the way that students come first, and students are everything here. And it's not to say that at LCC they weren't, or at Baker College or Jackson College or any of the other schools where I've taught, where obviously we're all educators, we care about our students, but there was just something about being here that really appealed to me. And so I came here, and honestly, it's been the best professional move I've ever made. So when I first made that decision in 2014 to go from being a fully on-ground full-time instructor in Lansing to being a fully online instructor, I was worried about a few things, as anyone would be, right? Of course, it's not the same, and we know it's not the same. It's not for everyone. It's not for every class. But what I learned was I actually kind of prefer online teaching. And at first I was a little concerned about it. But what I found is it gives me the opportunity to really step back and evaluate my teaching from a whole new perspective. And I learned to love it. And I don't think I would ever go back. It doesn't mean that I would never teach any on-ground classes. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't be intrigued to do some of that here and there or do some tutoring. But I really think the online setting is perfect for me. And I do think that if everybody understands a little bit more about it, I think it would be good for other people too. So that's kind of what I want to go through tonight, is show you my process and explain why I think if I can flip the paradigm for you a little, we can see why maybe this would work for you too. So we're going to do some math. Now, I am an English teacher, so math is not my thing, but all this math is accurate 100%, I promise. So whether you're a faculty member or an administrator or a potential student, I want you to imagine that you have a 3-credit-hour class that has 20 students. And that's pretty easy for all of us to do. We've all been in those classes. I've all sat in a classroom with 20 other students or more. I've taught classes with 20 students or more. So it's not that hard to do. That's a pretty standard thing to experience. So if we do that math, that means that there's 180 minutes of class time per week where you're physically all together in the room. And so as an instructor or as a student or whomever, if you were to dedicate each second, each minute to discussion, to engagement, we all love discussions, right? We know my favorite part of on ground or online is discussion. And it's when we can engage with the material that we've assigned, whether we've assigned a novel or whether we're peer reviewing and we're talking about the process, or whatever lecture we've given or movie we've watched, we like to discuss it. And that's how we know if our students got it. It's one thing to have them write a paper in a vacuum, but in real time, having a conversation, I think where the learning happens at its best. So if we were to dedicate every second of every minute to discussion in a traditional 3-credit class that has 20 students in it, that would mean there'd be 9 minutes of speaking time per student per week. That is it. And that's if you did nothing else. From the minute the bell rang, as it were, to the time the course ended, we did nothing but discussion. And that also means that you, if you're an instructor watching this, I'm the instructor in this scenario, I don't speak at all. Class starts, everybody talks for 9 minutes each over the course of the week, right? So if we meet twice a week, that's 4.5 minutes per course that each student has. That's it. When you think about it, if you're like 3-hour class, that seems like a lot of time. But if you're really having conversations, it doesn't work. So the next thing is, well, we know that's unrealistic, obviously. So let's just say we spend an hour of each week giving a lecture or giving handouts or doing whatever. So that's 120 minutes a week. But that would mean that, again, in that same scenario where no one speaks, no one does anything else, the teacher never interrupts, everyone respects everyone's time, which we know always happens. Nobody ever interrupts. That never happens. You'd have 6 minutes per week, okay? That's still giving 2/3 of your class time to discussion. That's, if you break that down, that's 6 minutes a week that each student's voice gets to be heard in your on-ground classroom. And of course, we know that's not real either. We know that the best case scenario is maybe we spend half of our week of a 3-hour class. In a good week, we can spend 90 minutes of it. Whether that, if we're meeting twice a week, maybe half of each class. If it's a once-a-week 3-hour class, maybe you dedicate the middle 90 minutes or however. But that breaks down to 3 minutes per student. In that case, in the best case scenario, it's 3 minutes per student without any interaction from the faculty member. And again, we know that that's not realistic. But I just wanted you to see those times. You can put that in perspective of how much time and energy faculty members put to developing classes, coming up with lectures, giving out assignments. And we, as instructors, love discussions. We love to talk about the things that we love. That's why we're instructors. We didn't get into this job because we hate what we do. We get into this job because we love it. If we're literature teachers, we want to talk about books. And if we're math teachers, we want to talk about math. Or if we're chemistry teachers, we want to talk about the concepts of chemistry. That isn't something I can't wrap my mind around as an English teacher, but we know that people love that. And so we want to talk about it. But if you can only talk about it 3 minutes a week, is that really a conversation? Or is that, the constraints of the clock. So what I want you to think about now is throwing all that out, and when you move things online. So in an online course, students have an entire week to participate in discussion. So there's 10,080 minutes a week. So instead of having 3 minutes per week or less to think about and engage into its particular discussion topic, students actually have hours. They have hours. A little bit later in this presentation, I'm going to actually show you a few things inside my classroom, but in my class and in most online classes, the discussions are released usually early, even before the week starts. So students can get in, see what the discussion is, know what the assignment is, and have time to think about it before they even give their first response. And then they can read what their fellow classmates have to say, read what their instructor has to say, and spend literally hours engaging with the material instead of right now in this moment. So when you think about that in the course, that's just 1 week. Now I know there are some instructors who actually, instead of doing 7 1-week lessons, they'll do modules where maybe it's a week and a half or 2 weeks per module. So you may even have 2 weeks worth of discussion for one topic. So you double that, right? You're having 20,000 minutes over the course of a module if it's a 2-week module. So the reason that I feel that online education gives everybody a chance is that everyone wins. When we think about introverts versus extroverts in the as learners and as instructors, what we forget is that in that scenario, those math scenarios I gave you earlier, think about the extroverts. Those of you who are out there who are extroverts, you know who you are. Those of you who are like me, who are fake extroverts, who faked everybody out into thinking that you're an extrovert because you're an instructor, even though you're not, even though you prefer being alone with a book. But because you love your job, you're able to speak comfortably in public. All of you people who are happy to talk in front of others, you are not really thinking about those numbers were probably pretty striking to you because you were like, oh man, I only had 3 minutes a week to talk. I talk way more than 3 minutes a week. So that means how many of your classmates didn't say anything? Probably quite a few, I would imagine. I know as me, as someone who is actually an introvert but loved learning, so that when I was in class and engaged, I was really involved in conversations when the topic was interesting to me. I know that I spoke more than 3 minutes a week in a 3-hour class. There's no doubt about that. So when we think about these two groups, I just want to spend and I know everybody understands the two groups, but the most important personality trait that extroverts have that's really important to this is the fact that extroverts in general, and of course, we're not trying to paint it and say everybody is the same, but these are what the general studies are. Extroverts are adaptable. They can be in big groups or small groups. And when you think about that they are adaptable, where introverts in general are less adaptable. Not that they aren't, but that they are less adaptable. That they are more comfortable in small groups. That they are more comfortable having time to think about their answers. That they are more comfortable to be in one-on-one settings. They are more comfortable being alone. Extroverts, of course, love groups. They love being with people. But they also can adapt to different situations. So an online discussion board is an introvert's dream. An introvert sees, I'm alone, I'm in my office, I'm at my desk, I'm wherever I am. I can have headphones in if I want to. I can read the post. I can walk away from it. I can take my time. I can respond to this one person, and then I can do that person by person. Where an extrovert says, oh my goodness, look, there's 50 people in here, or 20 people, or however the number of people there are in your online classroom, 18 people, and I can read them all, and I can respond to them all, and I can engage with them all, and that is so exciting, and I'm gonna have these long, thoughtful conversations, because an extrovert sees a group, and an introvert sees each person in its own little individual way. So an online environment allows both groups to win, where an on-ground environment, in general, and of course, I'm generalizing, I understand there's somebody out there who's like shaking your fist at me, like me, who's truly an introvert, who could still excel in a classroom. I know those people are out there. But in general, classroom settings, extroverts always win, and introverts, not that they don't get anything from being in a classroom or listening to the conversation, but their engagement is going to be much lower. And the bigger the class, the less likely it is that the introverts are going to participate. And I want everybody who's been in a classroom, which should be most people, if you're the introvert, think about how many times you sat in a classroom and maybe said no words for an entire week, or 2 weeks, or if it was a 15-week class, 5 weeks or 6 weeks, maybe not in a row, but over the course of a semester, there were weeks where you showed up, you had your notes, you took notes, you paid attention, you never spoke to anybody in a discussion because you sat in the back of the room and you absorbed the information and then you left. So think about that as opposed to being in an online forum where you have to participate every week. You don't have any choice, right? You can't, there's no hiding in the back of the classroom for the introvert. You're a little bit out of your comfort zone. Now think of all of those of you who are instructors and you've had amazing conversations. You go home and you tell your significant other or your partner or your kids or whomever, oh, it was a great discussion, was so great. We talked about this book and we just went on and on and on. Now think back to that. Did everyone in the classroom participate? Or were you so caught up in how great it was? Because I've been there and it is great. It is, you feel fantastic. How many of those people, though, participated? If you had 20 people or 15 people or even 10 people, did everybody talk and did everybody speak equally? So think about that. And that's where I think online education is the great equalizer. And like I said at the beginning, I understand it is not for everyone, but I want everybody to understand why it can be valuable for everyone. If you're in a situation where you have to take an online class, where this year that happened, we had a lot of courses that had to go online. Well, how can we tell our students, how do we tell our faculty, how do we tell our administration and our friends out there that, hey, it's going to be okay because we can make it work for everyone. There are always going to be people who prefer online, and that's great. There are always going to be people who prefer on ground, and that's great. But we need to know that if you're in a situation where you have no choice, we can make them be effective, excellent educational opportunities. And I just really fully think that it is in the discussion that happens. Okay? So it allows you to take time to reach everyone. So this is just for me. This is the way that I handle it. So I spend anywhere from 1 to 3 hours per day, per class, reading and responding to discussion posts. So it depends on the day. So today is Wednesday, which is my busiest day in discussion. So I definitely spent 3 hours per class in discussion today, reading and responding, because their main post, their first post, is due no later than Tuesday at midnight. So I log in first thing Wednesday morning, and there's a lot of people who, just didn't post until late last night. So I have a lot to read. Obviously, Fridays may be a little lighter, Mondays be a little bit lighter. But I get to spend that time. That's what I spend, because my students are required to do 5 posts over 3 days every week. And that is required. And again, it's as opposed to somebody who can just show up and take notes and sit in the back of the classroom and maybe say one word once every few weeks. There's definitely a different kind of level of engagement that is we can require in an online environment that we can't necessarily require on ground. We can do small groups on ground and get people engaged that way, of course. So I just want to show you, now this is summer 2 just started, so I don't have data. So this is from summer 1, which was just 8 weeks ago. So I taught a 341 class that had 12 students in it, and a 401, LAS 401, which is the 341 is advanced expository writing, 401 is the senior seminar with 18 students. So in week 1's discussion with 12 students, there were 81 posts. And in my week 1 discussion for LAS 401, there were 149 posts. These are just screenshots from my course. And actually in that LAS 401 class, in week 6, when we discussed David Epstein's book Range, there were 199 posts that week. It was fantastic. It was such a great week. Everyone was so engaged with that book. And they came in late for sure, because they had to read an entire book. But it was definitely a lot of fun. And yes, some of these posts are definitely me as I respond to my students. I respond to all of my students at least twice a week. But you have to, so if you take that out, you still have 130 posts from just the student bodies. And it's just so engaging and so fun. So how do we do it? How do we make an online environment that works that way? So the trick, of course, is to flip the classroom. In a traditional classroom, you walk in, you give your lecture, you do your discussion, you go. Sometimes all you do for the hour and a half, or if you teach 3 times a week for 50 minutes, you may end up just having a lecture on Monday. And then on Wednesday, you come in and you have a discussion about what you lectured on Monday. When you flip the classroom, you don't have to worry about it because you're recording all those lectures. So what I'm going to do is take everyone into one of my courses, to the ENG 341 Advanced Expository Writing course that just finished. So I'm in student view here. So when you log into my course from the student view, this is what you're going to see. I do modular view. So a student logs in, and the first thing the student sees is the vital information. So when I say flip the classroom, you think about an on-ground classroom, you give your welcome speech. Hi, I'm Tony, here's this, and you go around and you introduce each other. Think about how much time that can take in your very first week. That can take up a lot of time. Well, I have a video welcome. So the students log in and they see this.
Hey everyone, welcome to Advanced Expository Writing. I'm Tony, that's me.
So I give them an 8-minute tour of the class and they go through it all and I show them what they need to do. 8 minutes, I flip the, now that 8-minute video took me an hour to make, but for each semester, I only have to make it once. And then it exists and the students can go back and watch it as many times as they want instead of like, what did he say on day one? Oh, I can go back and look and see what he said on day one. So week 2, this is very cool. This is where they all introduce themselves. So again, think about it from the perspective of your first day in class. Your first day in class, you have the students introduce themselves. So you've taken the entire first day. Well, they're just putting it in here. The students can get to it whenever they want. So I let them set their goals for the course and they actually have to refer back to this in their final discussion. So I tie back to it. So everything that's here is done. So is available to them. It's done in advance. Instead of just handing them out, they can't lose it. They can print it if they want, of course, but everything is available. Here's the discussion rubric, right? Have things highlighted there. Everything is explained. They can go back. So when you think about flipping the classroom, what that means is you're not just giving them handouts like those last few, but you have lectures. Here's my APA The Basics lecture. This is 15 minutes long. Here's a video about why they shouldn't use Wikipedia. And actually, I go in and I make an edit to the Wikipedia page in real time because I can. And I show them, look, this is what happens. This is why you shouldn't use Wikipedia as a valid source. And the students can go back as many times as they want. I have a handout here that explains signal phrases and as cited in, and then there's a video. So that's what flipping the classroom is. And you can do that throughout the entire semester. So as my students get into the entire course, each week we'll have those things. So in this week, there's handouts. Week 1, there were handouts and they have different assignments. In week 2, there's a revision lecture. So instead of me standing in front of them and giving them a revision lecture, they can come in here, they can watch it. I've recorded it in Prezi. It's 5 minutes long. They can go back and watch it as many times as they want. They can pause. And so that's what flipping the classroom is. It takes time, there's no doubt about that. But once it's done, probably once a year, you need to go back in and update those lectures or at least review them, make sure the links are working. Instead of thinking about all the time you're spending in a physical classroom giving these same lectures over and over. So that is another great way to give the students, that's their homework. They're participating in discussion 3 days a week. Well, what are they doing the rest of the time? They're watching these lectures, they're doing the handouts, they're doing the reading, and you don't have to do it over and over. So that's the trick to flipping the classroom. And that's kind of what my classroom looks like. So I link to the writing lab. I have a thing called Technology Hacks where I show them how to use Office 365 and how to use VMware. Online, you sometimes have students who use Chromebooks or who are using Macs and they don't think they have access to Microsoft tools. So by showing them those there, and it's just, again, instead of standing in front of the class, they can go back and watch it as many times as they want. So the other thing that I do that helps and that you can engage with your students is this. I do feedback videos. So my students turn in papers and I read them and I mark them up. And then what I do is I, just like you're listening to me now, I go in and I explain to each student what worked and what didn't work. Now the sample here that I have for you in my advanced expository writing class that you saw, that week 2, they do a revision assignment. And in that revision assignment, what they do is they take terrible papers that I wrote. I wrote really bad papers. I have them read 3 short stories and then they have to then look at these reader response papers that were written by this guy called Dude Student, and Dude is a dude. And so they have to read his terrible papers and use the principles of revision and editing to fix them. And it's a fun process, and it also shows them that if they can fix Dude's terrible papers, they can definitely do their own. So I've written those 3 papers. They're all terrible. And I have a handout that they can use for peer reviewing, and they pretend Dude is their peer. So because of FERPA, obviously I can't show you a feedback video from one of my actual students. So I'm just going to play a quick clip of me explaining to Dude what he's done wrong. This is a 2-minute video excerpt. I'm just going to play maybe 30 seconds of it, so you get the idea of what I do.
Hey, Dude, I just wanted to show you some of the issues with your paper. One of the big things, you'll see we've got some of these things highlighted in yellow. We'll get to that in a second. But remember, if you go back to the APA Basics video in the Vital Information module, you'll see where I explained that the paper needs to be in Times New Roman, 12-point font, and it needs to be double-spaced. And you'll notice yours is not that. Now, so I'm going to show you a quick way to fix that. So you just hit Control-All, and it highlights everything. And you come up here to the top left, and you click where it said Calibri, and now.
So that's what every one of my students in my writing courses, in my 301 courses, in my 102, 101, and LAS 301, and ENG 341, every assignment that is graded, every paper assignment, they get a video like this. And it takes time, but it's personal. They hear my voice. They know I'm there. And then the other great thing is they get that video for the rest of the semester. They can go back as many times as they want and review that video. It's available to them. I embed it right in the grade book. There's a little clip there. They just hit play, and the video plays right inside Canvas. And so again, it's another way to flip the classroom. When you hand back papers or when you hand back tests, students want to come, they want to do office hours, which of course we can still do. I do virtual office hours. I speak to students all the time. I have a Google phone set up so we can talk. I'll set up Zoom meetings. Sometimes we'll just send emails. I'll call them on the phone, whatever it is they need. So you still can have those office hours virtually, but this gives them a lot of direct feedback about the assignment so they know that there's a person on the other end. So online education does not have to be impersonal. It can be really personal, and you can connect it to your students very well. And this is just some of the examples. So again, it's all about the mission, right? We want to make competent, purposeful, and ethical students. And to do that, we need to be competent, purposeful, and ethical. And I feel that the way that I approach the online classroom, and that I know a lot of my online colleagues do, and it meets the mission. We are competent because we're doing the work to make an excellent online course. We have a purpose. We are, of course, ethical. That's why I didn't show you that paper, right? FERPA. But we can create private things like that, like those videos. That video, when I give my students videos, they're on my computer. The only person who gets, I save them to my computer, my work computer, where I'm talking to you now, my Siena Heights issued computer, and I upload it to Canvas. So the only person who can get it is them. So we get to meet the mission. We get to meet students where they are. We get to do everything we can for them. And it's really engaging. And I feel like any course can probably be done this way. I understand that there are going to be some labs, but it takes time. But I really think at the end of the day, it's worth it. And so I just wanted people to see that. So I am done. So I appreciate everyone. That went longer. I apologize than I thought I would. Ramble. That is what I do. So I am here for questions now, if you have any. So I saw some popping up while I was talking. So Doug, I hope they're good ones.
Well, I know we had one person raise their hand during the presentation. I believe Lisa Oberlin. Lisa, do you have a question or something we can help you with? Lisa's a member of our board, by the way.
Okay. Hi, Lisa.
Hello. I accidentally raised my hand, but since I have this time, I just want to say that as an alum, I would have loved to have had an opportunity to have had you as a teacher. Your enthusiasm tonight was bar none. Like, it inspired me as a board member. It inspired me as a mom of 2 students that are in middle school and lower school. But anyways, you did a great presentation, and I want to thank you for your time tonight.
That means so much. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Obviously, I knew when I was 12 I wanted to be an English teacher, and I am 47. So I am literally living my dream. So I appreciate that it comes through. Thanks for saying that.
Tony, I guess I want to throw out a question for you. You know, kind of what Lisa mentioned about she wished she would have had you as a teacher. For people who, you know, haven't been in a classroom either physically or online for a while, that are thinking about going back to online, what advice would you give them?
Ooh, well, the one thing that I can say is make sure that when you go online that you give yourself a schedule, but also schedule breaks. I think what happens, and I know that my first year online and some of my other colleagues, when the first year that you go online, or my wife who did her master's degree online, you end up deciding that you're going to be totally in every day, 7 days a week. And I think what you need to do is create a really good schedule that's rigorous, but also schedule breaks and stick to that. So a lot of our students who have parents or who have children who are parents or who have full-time jobs, like, how am I supposed to do this? What I always say to them is set aside specific times every day that are going to work for you. So if that means every day from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., that is school time, that's mommy's school time, that's daddy's school time, just go into a room, shut the door for an hour. And then when that time is up, even if you're not done with the assignment in that moment, get up, go back out, be with your family, take a break. Give yourself a day off. That is so important. Online is really, you know, we do accelerated. So, you know, if you don't say Saturday is my day off, there's nothing to ever do in my courses anyway, nothing's ever due on Saturday. Some people have discussion is still open on Saturday, even in my class, but nothing specifically due. So what I would say is, hey, go ahead and make sure you take whatever day or two that you can take off. You're like, well, Monday is kind of a light day. I'm going to take Sunday and Monday off, or however that is. So that would be a good recommendation, is make sure you give yourself a day off when you need it and set a schedule and try to stick to it. Because once you do that, it'll be okay. It can definitely feel overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. Because that's the difference when you're sitting on ground and you get that syllabus, you look at it and it's like, you know, you see that syllabus, and that can feel overwhelming sometimes, for sure. And then online, you see the syllabus, then you see the entire semester's worth of work. So it's not just the syllabus, it's literally you see when the assignments due, you see the Dropbox. So by giving yourself just a minute to breathe, and I know this is silly in our modern age, get a calendar. I didn't plan this, I didn't know Doug was gonna ask a question, but I have my planner right here, and it has this written in here for today. That is the best. Then you always have it, you're like, oh, when's that assignment due? So those are the kinds of things. Have a schedule and schedule breaks.
Thank you, Tony. I'm going to ask a question here for Mary Roberts, who's our assistant director in the online program. Mary, you know, before they get to Tony and take classes, they have to go through you and your colleagues there to do the onboarding and the enroll process. Can you talk a little bit about that process? You know, for some people, it may seem a little daunting. What do they need to prepare for? What's the process like? I know we're very flexible and transfer credits and different things. Could you kind of run through what that process is?
Sure, Doug. That's a great question. So yes, before you can get registered, we have to accept you. Before we can accept you, you have to apply. So if you are interested at all, you would go to start.sienaheights.edu and input your information, complete the application process, which is no cost to you. And then you'll be connected with an advisor, either myself or one of my coworkers, who will start reviewing your educational history. And that doesn't mean just your college credits. It could mean anything from a paramedic license, a massage therapy program, work experience, advanced training on the job. We accept hospital-based programs for rad techs and respiratory therapists. A lot of variety in where we will accept that transfer credit. And so we take a look at the whole picture of the student coming to us. And I liken it to a puzzle in the bachelor's degree. So I want to see all the pieces of the puzzle and then make a determination on what's your best route. Can we transfer in those 90 credits, which is the maximum amount? That's our goal as advisors. We want you to be able to transfer in 90 credits and only need the 10 classes, which is the minimum amount required. So if you are accepted into the program, then we will even take the next step in creating a degree plan for you and getting you registered each semester for the classes that you need. And you and your advisor would work together on what those classes are. There are some required courses, and then there are others that oftentimes are elective courses at the 300, 400 level, or you can choose a variety of one of our minors. We offer minors in healthcare management, accounting, finance, information technology management, professional communication, and several others. So you'll have options to take classes that will broaden your educational history. So you won't be taking classes that are directly in your field, but they will definitely complement the learning that you've already accomplished in your adult life. And so with our classes being geared towards the adult learners, these classes are 300 and 400 level courses. So as Tony stated earlier, they can be quite intense, and you need to set some time aside each day and work on those. And as I tell all of my students when I'm talking to them about the program, the online program is not for everyone, and you cannot hide in an online class.
No way.
So it's when you were, when we were in school, and if you didn't want to raise your hand for a whole semester, well, that was okay. Didn't have to talk. That's not the way with an online class. You are expected to participate each week of the 7 weeks sub-sessions. But one of the best things about Siena's program for our working adults is that you stay with one person the entire time, from the time we take a look at your inquiry and your application all the way through commencement, and even getting you into one of our online master's classes. So some people call that cradle to grave advising. And I don't want to offend anyone with that terminology, but we stay with you. You have one person that is your main contact for financial aid needs, registration needs, how to apply for graduation, all of those things. And we love to watch our students walk across the stage in May, and hopefully we'll get to do that again soon with our graduates. So it's a great program, and I see several of our online students online tonight. So thank you for coming and joining us.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got a couple new questions, one for Tony, one for Mary. I'm going to get to Mary's first here since she's already kind of a little bit on a roll. This is from Rhonda. She said she has a master's in educational technology through U of M Flint, and she considered taking their 2 online classes to get a certificate, stating she completed the training or their UMF coursework. Is there any type of degree, or are you considering this as a degree?
And that is not a question for me. And
Okay.
UMF coursework, I would have to go back and see which, oh, here we are. Educational technology. You already have that, Rhonda. So I'm not exactly sure what type of classes you are looking for, but at this time, I don't believe that we have anything that would fit that training. You're considering is this degree of training in their UMF coursework. University of Michigan Flint. I apologize. To get a certificate stating I completed the training. So I believe this would be a question like, are you asking if you can be trained in our OLAC course? So can other people take our OLAC course other than Siena Heights professionals? And Tony, help me out with that answer.
We have, and again, we'd have to talk to Lori Timmis and Liliana Toder. But I know we have currently one of our Dominican sister schools, Aquinas, who was our first partner in the Dominican Consortium. Some of their faculty are taking OLAC. And so we do have non-Siena folks, generally OLAC is our online training, which again, as I said, is the best professional development in the history of the universe. I am biased, but I didn't create it, I just took it. So we do have folks who aren't going to work for us. They can come in and pay us a nominal fee and take that. And because we are #1 in Michigan Online and nationally ranked for 4 straight years with US News and World Report, plug for sure, I'm so proud of us. that certificate that you could get through OLEC, that would mean something elsewhere because of us, because of our reputation. So that is definitely, if that's what you're looking at, trying to take our OLEC course, I'm sure we could talk about that, but you don't have to physically be working here to do it. We have done that before, and we're doing it right now. We have some of our Aquinas folks taking it currently.
Wonderful. I thought so, but I wasn't exactly sure. So if you are, Rhonda, if that is something you're interested in, you're welcome to reach out to us. You can give me a call if you're interested, and I can put you in touch with the right person. And I'll put my home phone number in the chat bar so you can take a look at that and give me a call if that's what your question was. And if it wasn't your question, if that's not the answer to what you were asking, please give me a call and I will get the answer for you.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay. Well, like I said, we have one question here for Tony. This is from our friend Tom Pashevitz, who's out there in virtual land. He has a question of danger of busy work versus meaningful work.
That is a great question, Tom. So I feel in our accelerated nature, there is almost no busy work in an online environment. I understand what you're saying, that people can feel that way. What we try to do is everything goes to that mission, right? Is it competent? Is it purposeful? Are we ethical in that we're respecting your time and your money and your energy? So there's nothing in my course that I have students do that doesn't tie in to something that they're doing. We do. A lot of us have suggested reading. And that's just supplemental stuff that's like, hey, this is, if you're interested in this, here's something else you can do. So there's not a lot of time for busy work in our accelerated course. And so if, for example, my 341 class, there's a lecture, there's a handout, there's an assignment, everything is working towards you writing that next paper. So for that revision, the one where I showed you where they have to revise one of the bad papers that I wrote, written by Dude, that process is so that they can do their peer review, which is the next thing. And so that they can apply that revision and editing process to their own paper, which is due a week and a half from that assignment. So it's time consuming for sure, but everything builds. We really kind of stack. And I feel that as an English instructor, and when I teach LAS 301, our intro adult learner course, we're really trying to build something that you should transfer. There should be a transference of skills. And what I love right now, I'm teaching 401, which are the students at the end. I haven't seen them in 18 months or 12 months or whatever. And so it's cool to have them come back and they've said, oh yeah, I remember we did this assignment and that was really useful. So I think everything we do is to kind of pay it forward. And I'm sure there are definitely students who think this assignment's dumb. Of course, they think there's always going to be students who think that. As a student myself, you think that sometimes, but that's never my intention. So that's a great question, Tom. I appreciate that. And I don't think that is, we just don't have time really in the accelerated course.
Okay, we do have somebody with their hand up. I believe it's Peter Segala. So Peter, if you want to weigh in, have a question or a comment, feel free.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Hey, Peter.
Okay. So first, two things. Tony, as an adjunct instructor with Siena, I want to say I've been to a few of you, participated in a few of your webinars, and you are an inspiration to myself, okay? And I think to others.
Thank you, Peter.
I really mean it. And secondly, I just want to further, in other words, compliment your comments on OLEC. I tell you, that is one of the greatest courses I've ever taken. It's almost like they everything and if anybody's out there interested in teaching online for Siena, you definitely want to take that class, because it's not about the technology. It's about the introducing all the educational concepts that we know that we do in class, how to transfer that into an online environment. And you were like definitely right on the mark with our OLEC. It is one of the best. I think one of the best programs around. It's awesome. It's just awesome. It's like getting a master's degree in education in 8 weeks.
It is, and it's a graduate level course, Peter. You're absolutely right. It is. We're not messing around in there. And Liliana, who is the smartest person in any room she ever walked into,
awesome.
is our captain there, and Gail Ryder, Mary Antoneris, Winstrom teach over there.
They're all good.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I love it.
I appreciate you saying that, Peter. It's excellent.
Yeah. Thank you, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have another question here that just popped in. This is from Rosemary Quinn. I'm looking into getting a bachelor's degree in surgical technology. Do you know if this degree can transfer over towards a nursing degree? I'm in Texas. This is probably for Mary.
That is for Mary. I have a lot of Surg Tech students, Rosemary, for sure. So I know that you're welcome. Mary.
Yes. So, Rosemary, I can't answer that question for you, unfortunately. Will it automatically transfer into you being admitted to an RN program? I'm not sure. It depends on the RN programs. I do know that there are some RN accelerated programs out there in the world that you have a bachelor's degree in a healthcare field and you have a leg up into getting your RN license. I would not know if that is available to you in your area in Texas or not, but I can certainly work with you on seeing if we can locate one in your area that you can springboard into, but I'm not sure. So that's
Rosemary, we have a bachelor's of nursing, right? We have a master's, so we have different layers too. So yeah, definitely, I would say reach out to Mary. She can evaluate what you have and find something for you.
Yes, but we don't offer classes for you to become a nurse at Siena in the online format. You already have to have your RN license in order to get your BSN with the online program.
Okay, she says thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Unless anyone else wants to raise their hand or throw out another question, I think Tony or Mary, if you have any final comments, feel free to finish it off here.
Sure. I would just like to say thanks everybody for coming. I really appreciate it. I know it's a Wednesday night. I keep looking at my clock. I'm like, wow, look at all those numbers. I see the number of people who are in there. So it's so exciting that you're all still here. I appreciate your time. And I just want you to know, look, at Siena, we're the reason we're #1 in Michigan and the reason we're ranked is because we really genuinely care. And it is such a great place to work. And we, like Mary just said to Rosemary, look, we may not have the program for you right now, but we'll find one for you so you can come back to us later. So that's what we do. We are such a student-centered program, and our online program, I think, is so good because our faculty, our full-time and our adjunct faculty, we really are student-centric. So, check us out if you have any interest. Our advisors are amazing. What Mary said is totally true. It's not like other schools. My kids are all adults, and when they went into to their bachelor's degree, they had an admissions advisor, and then they had a first-year advisor, and then that's not how it is. You get your person, and that person's with you the whole way, and it's such an excellent program. So I recommend anybody who's interested to check us out, and we're happy to have you.
Well, thank you for inviting me to join you tonight, Tony. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you were here because you definitely know stuff I don't, so I appreciate it.
So if any students out there are interested, you can go to start.sienaheights.edu and be connected to an advisor, or I did put my phone number, my home cell phone or phone number in the chat bar there. So you're always welcome to reach out to me that way too.
Okay, well, Tony and Mary, thank you very much for sharing with us tonight. And again, for those who are with us and maybe didn't catch everything, we did record, so this will be available after the program. I think you'll get a link to that after the program. We'll also make it available, I believe, on YouTube and our social media channels. So you'll get to see Tony anytime you want after this.
Excellent. My email, afarina@sienaheights.edu. So if you have questions for me, please feel free to send me something, and I'm happy to chat with you.
Okay. Well, thanks again for everyone for attending, and hopefully we'll see you the next Siena Shares. We got one coming up in a couple weeks. We'll have details on it soon. So thank you. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.